Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher. This topic and or subject is about when a karate student opens a martial arts school or a martial arts practitioner of any particular art opens a school without their instructor's blessings or consent. Now, of course, in most instances, this would refer to a person who's no longer affiliated with that instructor. Because I think in most instances, it's pretty difficult to open a school while you're still attending your instructor school, your current instructor, if you have a current instructor. So, what I have seen and even experienced was when students that have been affiliated with a particular system, art, or school have left that particular school. They've gone on and opened their own school. Oftentimes, teaching or attempting to teach the same art or curriculum of the school that they left. This may seem uncommon, but it's pretty common. But herein lies the rub. Let me say this to you first and foremost, and I have to clear this up. And I speak from me first, from my standpoint. I have heard this statement made before that you put your pants on just like I do. Not a person talking to me specifically, but I've heard other individuals say this about other instructors. They say we're all human beings, which is true. My instructor puts his pants on just like me. We're all men. He's not God, okay? I concur. So I'm going to say this. We must understand that the world in which we live is composed of all types of people, ideologies, belief systems, and so forth. And everything is not always just one way. Culturally, so as it relates to martial arts, you must understand martial arts has its history, its beginning in various places across the planet. Most of us are familiar with martial arts from Asia. Martial arts has its roots in Africa and in Asia and other places. However, as it relates to Asia right now, when Asian teachers, instructors migrated here to America and began to teach, they brought their customs and their culture, their traditions with them in most instances. So, Americans were not familiar with those customs and traditions. America is a melting pot of many beliefs, of many traditions and customs. So it's difficult for Americans oftentimes to accept the traditions and cultures of other groups of people. Now, for example, when you tell an American born and raised to bow, for example, as is customary in Japanese, Korean martial arts when you bow. Some Americans say, I'm not bowing to that person. He's not a god. Okay? That's that custom or tradition from that Asian art, martial arts, if you will. So, he puts his pants on just like me. Or various other culture, uh, traditional things that they follow in Asia that they bring here. They have put a picture of their instructor on the wall, certain customs that you must follow, and so forth when they come here to our country. When they open up their dojo, their dojang, or their kung, if you will. And when you have Americans coming there, and we have to follow these customs or traditions, we must realize that we just cannot assume that we can approach another man's culture or that other man's traditions haphazardly and just disrespect it if we want to participate in it. In other words, if you want to learn martial arts from a Japanese system or art, or a Korean system or art, or Chinese system or art, you have to follow their rules and regulations. You cannot equate that to the way American people do it. This is the way we do it. It doesn't work that way, even though there are American karate schools or American martial arts school, open martial arts schools, if you will. So, what I'm getting at is this. If you are a Taekwondo or a Japanese Shotokan school here in America, and you're teaching those arts which are decades old here in America, and you have students who leave your school who either was put out because of disciplinary problems or what have you, or they just left for whatever reason, and they go and open a school. They don't owe you anything. They can actually go and open a school and teach Japanese Shotokan. Or they can teach Taekwondo. Unless the school that they're leaving has some sort of licensing issues that make that particular art that they have been teaching that student or former student where that art belongs to them. So 9 times out of 10, Shotokan schools in your state don't belong to your instructor because that instructor is not the founder of Shotokan, or that instructor is not the founder of Taekwondo. Do you follow what I'm saying? So if a student were to leave and teach Shotokan, it cannot be under the name. It can't be Jones's Shotokan school as it was before under the former instructor's name. It can't be under the former instructor of the Taekwondo school, Wang's, for example, Taekwondo school. The criteria has to be different. It has to be under that new person's name, but still Taekwondo, because Taekwondo does not belong to those particular individuals. It belongs to the founder of the art. Oftentimes you might have to align yourself with an organization such as the American Taekwondo Association or the USTA, United Taekwondo Association, one of those Taekwondo associations, or maybe even a Shotokan Karate Association, and follow some of those tenets if you're going to open one of those traditional schools. That's it. We're not owned by anyone is what I'm getting at. So let's say this as it relates to licensing. My system belongs to me. The art of Jenindo belongs to Grandmaster Stroud. No one teaches this art but me. I am the founder. The art of Jeet Kune Do, when Bruce Lee, God rest his soul, was living, he created it. Jeet Kune Do, or Jun Fan. He created that art specifically for him. So no one can teach Jeet Kune Do unless they are part of that organization. Not in the true sense of it. Now you might teach some of the aspects of it, but you can't call it what it's licensed as. Do you follow what I'm saying? So if a student were to leave you and the art that you taught them actually is your art, for example, if one of my students were to leave me and open a school without my permission or consent or my blessings, and I have not sanctioned them leaving and teaching in their own school, it's unlawful because the art belongs to me. They have to go through the proper channels. But as it relates to arts that are known across the world, such as Aikido, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, various arts or systems of Jiu-Jitsu, Tongsudo, and so forth, you can teach those arts as long as you don't mess with the licensing issue, if they be licensed, if they be copywritten in some sense. Do you follow what I'm saying? So there are Taekwondo schools all over the world. There are Kuk Sool Won schools all over the world. Now some of these are very sensitive legally if you go out teaching and calling yourself, for example, Kuk Sool. In Yuk Sool, that's his family's art. Kuk Sool belongs to that family. Kuk Sool. You cannot go out and start teaching Kuk Sool Won. And I know for a fact there have been former students in that art who have gone out opening up schools calling it Kuk Sool Won. And they're using the same techniques, the same principles and concept of that art. But there are some things that make that a little bit tricky. How you spell the word. You can't spell it the same. Can't spell it the same way. That's licensed by its founders, and it belongs to them. You can call it something different, but it can't be Kuk Sool. True to the word. You can spell it differently, but it can't be true to the word Kuk Sool. And you can't copy the techniques and call it Kuk Sool as if it were the original. It's kind of confusing, but I hope you get what I'm saying. You see, my system has its own forms. There's nothing new under the sun, according to the scripture. You must understand this. We all learn from one another. We're human beings. And there's really nothing brand new. Everybody has borrowed from everybody as far as martial arts is concerned across this planet. There's something similar in everything that we do. It's just called something different. A back fist is back fist, for example. That's the English term. Chinese call it Guai Choi. Japanese call it Yuraken. Koreans call it Cap Kwan. Still a back fist. Do you get what I'm saying? So let's not get confused. We all have similarities in our arts, but the thing that separates us is the methodologies and the katas and or the forms. That's what makes us really different. So again, if a student were to leave you, and if they are leaving you, the instructor, and the system actually is your system and not one that is universal that you are just privy to have been learning. If it's your system, they need your consent to teach your system. Hopefully they are in good standing, because I wouldn't want to have a student leave me and teach anything from my system if I have not given them the go ahead, because they would be in dishonor. And if they were in dishonor, then they would have to live with that in their conscience forever, because it's a spiritual matter, not physical. This is Brother Teacher.